Do something, man. People are questioning you.
Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the DubCast. In today's episode, I will be giving my reactions and review to the Netflix documentary McGregor Forever. It is a four episode documentary, came out in 2023. So what I'll do is give my overarching review of the documentary. What would I recommend it? Would I not recommend it? Just overarching thoughts. And then if you want to watch it and then come back, I'll give my my thoughts on each episode. Okay, so let's get right into it. So I'll start this off by prefacing that basically I used to watch UFC way back in the day, like probably 15 years ago with my dad. We used to watch Ultimate Fighter, but then kind of didn't really care about it post like 2010. So I kept up with the news mostly about like the main fighters and all of the popular fighters, but didn't really know what was going on totally. And then fast forward to 2021, McGregor was fighting Poirier for the second time, and watched the whole card with my friends at one of our friends' houses, and it was super fun. And then after that, I've been trying to get more and more into UFC, to the point where now I know a decent amount of fighters. I know a decent amount of what happens. Try and watch all the main cards, even some of the fight nights. So McGregor is really what kind of got me back into UFC. Obviously, he's a huge draw for the sport, and that clearly comes across in this documentary. So what I thought about the documentary, I thought it got off to a pretty strong start. So this whole documentary is not just about Conor McGregor's like whole life. It's mostly about the past 5 or 6 years, mostly post like his boxing match with Floyd Mayweather and the 4 following UFC fights since then. It does touch on some of the stuff that built him up to be such a big figure within the UFC. But it mostly just covers the last 5 years. So I really thought the first 2 episodes are really good, and definitely like worth watching. But the last 2, especially since I had been following the UFC, by the time that the last 2 episodes were covering, they didn't come off as strong to me personally, but I still enjoyed this documentary. Nonetheless, I wouldn't say it's like a must-watch. You need to go watch this right now, but I did enjoy it as a total experience, and getting to learn a little bit more about McGregor, and you get to kind of be on the ground with McGregor, and you see that he's not just this like character that does all this dumb, crazy stuff for the press conferences and all that. Like, he's a real human guy, and you get to see his family and stuff like that. So if you're like a McGregor fan, for sure this is a must-watch. If you're a UFC fan, I would say it's probably worth checking out. If you like McGregor, if you want to know more about McGregor, more than just like his fighting and his basically persona in the fighting, you can get behind that and get to see the real Conor McGregor and the real person that he is. So yeah, overall, I think this documentary is pretty solid, especially at the start, but would recommend to UFC fans and especially Conor McGregor fans to definitely check this out. So with that being said, I'll go into each episode and talk about things that jumped out to me in each episode. So the first episode is titled Bad Blood, and this is mostly covering his fight with Khabib. It kind of picks up from post boxing match to the fight with Khabib, and then ends after that fight is the end of the episode. So the first thing I noticed is that McGregor without facial hair looks mad weird. He looks like James Harden with no beard. It's just a funny image to see him with no beard. since basically the whole time I've known him as a person or a persona, he's always had that facial hair. So you kind of get these flashback clips to him in Ireland doing the whatever fight league he was in, some ring league in Ireland. So seeing him without the facial hair was just an odd thing to look at for someone who you see with a beard and mustache most of the time. So one of the first scenes is his kid, and I think it's his first kid. I think he has 2 or 3 kids by the end of it, but his first kid's gonna be a beast, dude. He's freaking doing pull up on rings. This kid's like 1. He's driving a car, like a toy car. He's doing pull ups, and he can't even like speak. He can't even talk, but he's just already like built. So watch out for McGregor Jr. in UFC 550 or 600. Keep that in mind. So yeah, this covers the bus incident that happens before the McGregor fight and before the McGregor and Khabib fight, and this was definitely something that was super interesting to me because I had heard about the incident of him throwing a chair, and at the time I was in high school. I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't really care to follow the background of it, but I mostly just saw the headlines and didn't really know the full context. So being able to actually see the full context here, basically Khabib like did something screwed with Conor's teammate somehow. So it was nice to know that there was like an actual reason behind that other than him just trying to be like a scary guy and trying to like intimidate him by throwing the thing through the bus. So yeah, we got a lot of this documentary is Conor training with his coaches, and you hear a lot from his coaches. In this first episode, there's a scene where he just like casually dislocates his toe before the fight, and I thought that was something of note just because like casually dislocating your toe must be super fucked up to have to deal with that. And then he's in like writhing pain for like 20 minutes until they pop it back in, and then he still obviously fights. I mean, these fighters are just like hockey players. They all fight injured, and only huge injuries take them out. So seeing him with this screwed up toe is definitely something to watch, and helps you understand the process of fighting and the injuries they go through. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, it was something that I found funny or just kind of annoying is just everything McGregor says at these press conferences. His fans just eat out of his mouth. They freaking love this guy. Literally just anything he says, they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and it's funny seeing that. Just basically anything he says. The press conference with Khabib, he's just like doing stupid ass shit, and the fans like, "Yeah, yeah." So yeah, we get to the fight with Khabib and Conor, and for those of you who don't know, Khabib wins in the 4th round, I think it was. He submits him. So Dana comes in after the fight, and this is a common occurrence that we see throughout the documentaries. Dana just coming into the locker room post the fight, and Dana just loves McGregor. It's so funny. Obviously, he makes him so much money, but he's like, "You good, man? Like, sorry." And then obviously, well, there's the whole thing after the Khabib fight where Khabib like jumps out of the ring and attacks Dylan Dennis, Conor's like friend or whatever, and one of Khabib's guys tries to fight Conor. So Dana comes in all concerned, is like, "You good? It wasn't supposed to happen, blah blah blah." But it's just so obvious that Dana's team Conor and loves Conor till the death. So we end out this episode with Conor having to do the community service from the bus incident, and he's just wearing a proper 12 shirt to the church. Just thought that was funny. But I was glad that he actually ended up doing the community service. It seemed like it helped him mentally and helped him feel like he was helping out in society. So that was a nice note to end on the first episode. So moving to the second episode, we had an episode entitled "As Real as It Gets." I should say that all these episodes are like from 40 to 50 minutes, so it's probably like a 3.5 hour experience overall. So in "As Real as It Gets," this focuses on his kind of sort of comeback to the UFC and his fight with Donald Cowboy Cerrone. So yeah, basically after the Khabib fight, Conor's super messed up, so he has to take like a break. I think once you're knocked out or submitted, you have to take like a couple months break. So seeing him have to go through this break when he just wants to fight was pretty sad, and it definitely tears him up. You see he's kind of gets pretty sad and just really wants to fight, but there's nothing he can do. Yeah, so as I stated before, you definitely can see there's a couple examples in this episode where McGregor's just clearly drumming it up a shit ton for the media. So we see like a lot of this documentary is him. He has interviews from way back in the day of when he was younger, or just in press conferences, and then to like present day, and you can just clearly see the difference in personas. Like in the press conferences, he's all like cocky and all whatever, and in the present day, he's just like chilling with his family, like being super chill. So just thought that was a note to understand that like he's a real guy just behind this persona he puts out. So something I liked about this documentary as well is how they do little montages of the fighters before he fights them. So they had like a nice Khabib montage. They in this episode they have a nice Donald Cerrone montage. I really like that just as a enjoyer of fighting and good to fight highlights. So another thing they focus on in this episode is how Conor inspired basically Ireland to get into both the MMA and the UFC. So we get to see kind of his impact within that community. This is pretty close to COVID. I think this was 2019, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But being able to see how his impact is on, I think he's in a class with younger kids and things like that. I think that was really cool to see him be able to inspire like a whole nation to get into the sport of MMA and the UFC. So that was something I really liked. I really liked Donald Cowboy Cerrone in this episode. I just thought he was really respectable the way everything happened. He didn't really engage with Conor on the pre-fight press conference BS. Mostly just kept it respectable. I think Conor was pretty chill actually before this fight, and then Conor ends up knocking him out in like a minute, and then he's still super chill after. He's like, a good fight, whatever. Obviously they have sportsmanship, but just enjoyed Cowboy in this episode. Thought he was a good opponent for Conor in this, and seeing him just made me respect him for the way he handled everything. So yeah, Dana comes in again to be super nice to McGregor, obviously, because he brought him so much money on this fight night or this fight card. So after the Cerrone fight, COVID hits, and we see Conor kind of doesn't really have a fight. They aren't really setting up anything for him. And we see him in the first couple months where he's kind of helping out his community during COVID, which is where he's in Ireland. So I like this too, seeing him like in the community helping out, trying to do as much as he could. So that was cool. I definitely felt like it was a misstep by the UFC to not give him a fight when they were on Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. He's the biggest draw in the sport when there was literally no sports happening at the time, so I thought that was stupid by Dana, but maybe there was a reason for it. He ends up fighting probably like a couple months later anyway, so not that big of a deal, but just thought that was a misstep on the UFC. But we know how stingy they are and what their contract, whatever, how they figure all that stuff out. So that was pretty much it for episode 2. We moved to episode 3, and this is where I kind of thought the documentary dropped off. I think the documentary crew probably thought that like these last 2 episodes would be better just due to the results of the fight, or were not really in McGregor's wet and the way McGregor probably wanted and what the producers probably wanted. Just no, and me myself knowing that he loses both these fights to Poirier, just kind of didn't make me super excited to watch these last episodes, because I knew that was basically all that was left. So there was definitely a drop off here for me, but still, let's talk about it, these last 2 episodes. So episode 3 is titled Insane to This Game. So basically we start off with Conor starting this fake rumor that he's retired on Twitter. I kind of forgot that this had happened, if I even knew that it happened. And basically Joe Rogan and like every fight commentator was like, he ain't retiring. Just thought that was a funny montage there. So another thing I really enjoyed about this documentary is seeing him and his fiance or wife Dee interact. They have a super nice relationship and they really do care for each other, and he's definitely acts different when he's around her and is super loving and supporting of each other. So really enjoyed seeing that relationship, because I never even knew who his wife was or whatever. I didn't even know if he had a wife or a girlfriend or whatever. So in this episode, he also owns his mistakes for the things he did in the Khabib fight, and I thought that was really respectable and good for him for doing that. So another thing he does is he tags Poirier to have a fake charity fight before their first fight in 2021. So props to McGregor here. I don't know if this actually helped end up getting the fight. The documentary makes it seem like it does, but I'm not sure. But if it did, good play by McGregor, good business plan, because it ends up working. So another actually super interesting scene that happens in this episode is Conor watching Gaethje versus Khabib, and this is a fight where Khabib retires because his dad had passed away. So he's all pissed off that Khabib retired because he wanted to fight him again, and then it goes silent for like a couple minutes, and they kept it in there. Just thought that was, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll say riveting, just because it was interesting to see Conor like watch another fight, care this much about a fight, and then be upset when Khabib retires. So basically, Conor ends up getting the fight, obviously, against Poirier, and then they have to go to Fight Island, where this is still when the COVID protocols were super important. So, of course, he has to be mad dramatic getting his COVID tests. He's like, oh, they like put the stuff in his nose. He's like, wow. Okay, bro. Another thing that I've also forgot to mention up top is he's sitting next to Chandler. I think this was Chandler's first fight. I remember watching on the card, but Chandler and him are sitting next to each other at the press conference. I just thought that was ironic because they're fighting in a month from now. And that's another reason why this is a good documentary to watch right now, because Conor's fighting again for the first time in a couple of years in June. So I just thought this was ironic, seeing him and Chandler next to each other. Didn't really know probably who each other were at this point, but now they're fighting each other. So we go to the press conference, where there's a complete shift in press conference energy from Conor. He's praising Dustin, and then they quote-unquote trade sauces, which is a funny scene because Dustin makes his own hot sauce and Conor makes his own alcohol, so they were trading quote-unquote sauces. Just this was a funny scene to watch. And then we see Conor cutting weight, which I think is a stupid process, and as usual, it's a struggle for Conor, or just every fighter pretty much, and it's super dangerous. He's got to like sweat out everything and hydrate, and his wife's there, and it's all this weird thing, and I don't know, I don't like it. It was uncomfortable to watch, but I appreciate them including it in the documentary just so we can see what it's like for a fighter to go through this process in a more expanded sense. So in the first fight, he ends up getting knocked out or submitted or doctor stoppage. I don't think it was doctor stoppage, but so he just basically gets straight depressed after this, and we get to be in his world for a couple minutes after this huge loss, which sucks, seeing him lose and seeing him be all sad and stuff. So that was just straight depression there. And then they do all this hype up for the next episode, which was really not something I appreciated, just because I knew what happens in the next episode. I don't know if they aimed this documentary for people who didn't know much about McGregor and what happened in the past couple of years, or if they did for people who knew, because they do all this like hype setup montage for him to just lose again next episode to Poirier, spoiler alert. But I just thought this was a stupid setup if like they actually were trying to make this for UFC fans. So with that being said, let's talk about the fourth episode, titled Till the Day I Go Out. And this is once again his lead up to his second fight with Poirier and the fallout after that. So in the opening, he's like benching 75 pounds, and I can do that. I don't know why he was doing that. I thought that was weird. And then there's this funny scene where like the documentary guy is talking to him. He's like, "Are you ready?" Whatever. And then they exchange like 2 words, and then Conor just like gives a fan a salute and gets in the car and just completely like cuts off the conversation with the documentary guy. So this is just a grill by Conor to the documentary guy. I wonder if he didn't really like the documentary people, or this was just, I don't know, he's trying to do something else, or just was weird coming off on screen. I don't know. Just thought that was something. And so yeah, I just thought this episode was pretty sad overall, just because we get to see Conor train for this fight that we know he loses again super early. So I don't know, just a kind of a sad watch this episode. Conor's freaking pumping out babies. I think this is his 3rd baby that's been born during this documentary. We get to meet the 3rd kid in this thing, and then there's pretty boring stuff about his ankle, because that's how he lost in the first fight, was his ankle. So, I don't know, I just thought the doctor stuff was a little overdone and a little boring here with his ankle injury. And I noted that I think this documentary has gone downhill since episode 1, which I still tend to agree with, although I did like the second episode. Poirier, before the second fight, they're still showing mad love. Poirier's being mad respectful to him in the press conferences and talking about him. And then we go to the press conference where they're back to the trash talk, and I thought McGregor here is pretty washed at trash talking. I'm interested to see where he goes with the Chandler, if he keeps it respectful, if he keeps it try to do his trash talk. I don't know. I just thought his trash talk here was pretty bad and didn't really seem to affect Dustin at all. And I don't know. Obviously, the fans are like, rah, but didn't really think it was that good. So yeah, they do the face off, and I thought it was a pretty sad move to throw a kick during this. I don't really like when fighters try and throw punches and stuff during the face off. It just seems stupid to do that. I thought maybe in the scene Conor was drunk because he was just being an idiot. So we go to the fight where, in my opinion, Poirier was just mauling the dude anyway. Like, this wasn't. So this fight ends up ending with McGregor like falling on his leg and it cracks or whatever, and it sucks because the fight doesn't actually naturally end. He just falls on his leg. But Poirier was freaking mauling him in the first round, so I don't really know what they were trying to say there. It just didn't really seem like Conor had a chance anyway, or not. He had a chance, but obviously this injury is unfortunate. But I thought it was a 10-9 Poirier for round 1, so I guess we'll have to see if they ever fight again for the 4th time, but I don't know. So yeah, when Conor cracks his leg, the sound effect they put in there is super fucked up. I hate the injury stuff. And then I thought it was funny where the surgeon in the car is trying to like explain his ass off about what happened, because of all the stuff he was saying before. Just he's trying to like fight for his life and be like, oh, I didn't see this, or there was a pro. I don't know. Just thought that was funny. So yeah, and then everyone tries to write off Conor, and I thought that was cool to see that was wrong. He's going to come back and fight Chandler. Obviously, this was something of an uplifting moment, I guess, post knowing he actually fights again. I guess I don't know what you'd feel like a year ago when you didn't know if he was ever going to fight again. Arnold Schwarzenegger just pulls up randomly, the Terminator, to talk to him. I don't know, I just thought that was random. It was funny though. And then I thought another clear point that was made to me through this documentary is that McGregor didn't really want to do this for money, and he just loves fighting. So I thought that was respectable, that it's not all about the money. It's he wants to do this for pride and also to be a champion and all that stuff. And he obviously could have just retired a couple years ago and never had to fight again because of all the endorsement deals and all the UFC fights he's had. But they clearly want to make it a point to show you that he doesn't do it for the money. He's in it for himself, and I appreciated that. So we end with a maniacal McGregor laugh. Respected that as an end, especially they definitely didn't know that he was going to fight again, but now knowing that he fights again, pair that with the UFC promo we saw on 301 for the return of McGregor. It's got me hyped up for this card in late June where McGregor's going to fight Chandler, so appreciated that part of this episode at least. And then I thought the music throughout was just classic documentary movie. And so yeah, that ends our journey here with McGregor Forever. Let me know what you guys think. If you saw this documentary, did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you have to say about it? Let me see if there's anything else I want to say. Yep, so basically I mentioned everything I wanted to up top about the not going into every episode. So thank you guys for sticking along with me, explaining this McGregor Forever. Let me know, as I said before, what you think. Would you recommend it? Did you not like it? Whatever. So coming up on the podcast, I will have a review of Dead Poet Society and hopefully Succession season 1, episode 1 through 5 before I leave for vacation. Survivor maybe will be out as well, but when I come back, for sure, I will have the finale and stuff. That'll be the first thing that comes back after that. So I'll be gone for a week. But then after that, Survivor, finale, and talk about the new era overall and ranking all that stuff. So Got a couple more things lined up before I head out for a week, but thank you guys for sticking along. Appreciate the likes and the stuff on YouTube and the 5-star ratings. And keep it easy. Have a good one. McGregor Forever.